I det nyligen startade Erasmus-finansierade projektet Nova Nordic jobbar vi tillsammans med Globedju i Finland och ETSC på Island för att närmare se hur icke-formella kvalifikationer kan inkluderas i referensramar, nationella referensramar för kvalifikationer, och om dessa kvalifikationer kan uppnås via validering. Med icke-formella kvalifikationer så menar vi alla andra typer av kvalifikationer än de som man kan erhålla genom formell utbildning. Den här lilla intervjun kommer handla lite om varför projektet är viktigt för våra partnerorganisationer. Annie and Fiola, welcome to this interview. I just introduced the project very shortly, and I'm now going to let you introduce yourself and say something about where you work. So Annie, would you introduce yourself?
All right, thanks Anna. So my name is Anni Karttunen and I come from Finland, and I've been working with validation for over 20 years in different roles and different types of organizations, and at the moment I'm really engaged with non-formal qualifications in Finland. There are major national projects going on the liberal adult education system, which is practically non-formal training, how to create learning outcomes and how to create learning outcome-based assessment criteria for their courses, because now we have a national digital database for all sorts of learning, and now they have opened up that national database also for the liberal adult education. However, I'm really sad to say that at the moment linking with the national qualifications framework is not possible for the liberal adult education and non-formal learning at all. I hope that later on there will be more developments to that direction, and I think also to this project is an opportunity in a way to push towards that direction, because I think it is really important that because there is this framework for learning. It's not only for formal education, but it's for learning as such, that also liberal adult education could use it. And there are developments though that there are some non-formal courses and qualifications that are being included into the framework, but it's not from the liberal adult education side, but rather from the higher education side. So some like additional courses and stuff like that. But it's been a very long and painstaking process. For some reason, the NQF is really somehow protected over in this country, and it seems really challenging to open it up. So that's why I feel that it's really important to look at the different countries' examples and see what kind of best practices we can find, how to link validation, how to link normal qualifications and the national qualifications frameworks.
Thank you, Annie. Fiola, from Iceland, please let us know who you are and why you and your organization is taking part in this project.
Thank you very much, Anna. My name is Fiola Maria Lárusdóttir, and I come from the Education and Training Service Center in Iceland, which is owned by the social partners and has a service agreement with the Ministry of Education, Science and Culture on working for the target group of people with low qualified background. And I think that through the years, we have been developing learning offers from the non-formal arena in cooperation with lifelong learning centers, training providers, and companies. But these really need to be enhanced. There's a review of the processes used in this to meet these ends. There is a process where we map non-formal qualification to the framework, and they are alongside the formal formal learning and the curriculums, but it needs to be enhanced so that more learning providers and also company training, and also, as Annie said, linked also to voluntary work and all kinds of learning to be taken into account, so that people can have the competencies of delivering learning outcomes that make skills visible, and also competence demands. So it meets two ends working on this project. It's to bring forth the competence needs and make them into learning outcomes, and also to make learning visible and the skills of people on the labor market in a wider sense. So it's a matter of also looking into how we can sort of bring forth more modularized learning, and that's something that we have been looking into in the lifelong learning arena in Iceland, and how we can sort of create a way towards partial qualifications. The talk about micro credentials, it's a huge arena that we are stepping into, and as of now we have the framework. It's covering seven levels in Iceland, and it's sort of a picture of the formal school system. And this agreement of how it looks today was signed in 2016, and next year the framework will open towards reassessing how it can be more inclusive. So the NOVA project fits perfectly into the developments taking place here in Iceland in opening it, widening it to include lifelong learning, and also support guidance in lifelong learning towards motivating people to look at their competences.
Thank you both. It's very interesting to see that there are similarities between our three countries, and also between all the Nordic countries, because this is not just an Icelandic, Swedish and Finnish project, but we are going to compare all the Nordic countries and also include a few other European countries in the project to see how different countries have approached this issue of including non-formal learning and non-formal qualifications into their national qualification frameworks. Both of you mentioned learning outcomes important in this. Annie, what would you say?
Well, I think learning outcome-based systems, they form the basis for validation. If you don't have learning outcome-based descriptions, I think it's really, really difficult to assess your existing competencies. And also in order to create a common language between the education provider, for example, or between the education provider and the world surrounding the education provider, that is working life, NGOs, other formal education providers. So it's a language that connects then all of them, and it creates trust and transparency between all these actors.
Fiola, what would you say?
I very much agree with what Annie said, and also it's an empowering tool as well to work towards learning outcomes, because it makes visible both the demands that are made in learning and also at work. When you bring competence forth in learning outcomes, transparent also for the worker and the learner, so he or she knows what is expected, and that's sort of that gives you access to further learning. If you know what you know, if you know your competences, and you know what's demanded extra of you, it's easier to see that if you have learning outcomes, and easier to also describe to people. So it's an empowerment tool, as well as it brings visibility for companies and the labor market in itself on what is needed, what kind of competences are needed. So it's about making skills visible and transparency, as Annie said.
Thank you both so much for this little interview. Anyone who is interested in following the project can do so at novanordic.eu. And we hope that when we're done in about 2 years, that we get to see each other live and perhaps discuss these issues with some of you who are actually today listening in on the SeQF conference. So again, thank you, Annie. Thank you, Fiola, for doing this little interview with us. And I look forward to our collaboration in the project for the next 2 years.
And have a great conference.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.